We are out here on a bright sunny day. It's a little bit warmer than it has been, about 35 degrees today. It's been very mild this week, like 50s and 60s, and next week's going to be the same. So we picked a good day to come out, a little breezy, try to keep the wind out of the background noise for you guys, but we're going to work up some firewood. All right, the object for today, kind of hard to see, but there's a nice big maple laying in here. So Thomas is working on cutting the tall grass and stuff back so we can get back to it. Well, we made pretty quick work of that. Had to run Thomas into town. We got a family function tonight. He wanted to go a little bit early to help get it all set up, but we got it all cleaned up. There's another one here. I'm just not very good at identifying trees. That's an okay size, but I think it might be a willow. I know we had a number of willows in these piles, and it's nowhere good from what I understand as the maple, but we might come back and get it someday. Thomas wanted a bunch of these smaller pieces for a project he's working on, so I'm gonna load those up on the trailer and then we will head back there to the cabin. Well, we're not gonna make any progress on the cabin this week. I'm at a point now where I'm ready to start hauling materials back, and like I said, we have thawed out and it is very muddy. Had to really be careful not to get stuck again. But so we're just gonna work on firewood. Hopefully it'll solidify, either dry out or freeze back up, and then we can haul some materials out, 2x4s and plywood, etc. Okay, not a bad little haul, I think. Once I get that bucked up and then split, have a pretty good start on a little wood pile. Again, probably not going to work on actually building the shed part of the wood shed anytime soon, unless I just need a little project. But I'm hoping the next time we come out here, we'll have some materials and bring out some tools and get going on ye old cabin. All right, I decided now that I got that firewood hauled over, now'd be a good time to fix up my little rig. So I've got two 4-foot 2x4s, just met at a right angle, right in the middle of them. And then I'll show you when I've been doing the measuring. I mark off 2 feet, and then I go 1.5 inches either side on both of these. So I just set one on top of the other, make sure they're lined up. And that'll get me close enough for what I need. Okay, meant to hit record and did not, but I got my other, call it an X, put together there. So I'm going to space these about 2 feet apart so that when I set my 4-foot chunks of wood on it, I'll have a foot on the outside of either X and then 2 feet in between to cut in half. That gives me about 1-foot pieces, which again I think is probably a little bit smaller than I have to go, but I would really rather avoid in the future, depending on what wood stove I get, avoid having to go back to all my firewood and, cut 4 or 6 inches off. I'd rather be a little bit smaller. So now I just need a couple cross members to hold those 2 feet apart, and we should be good to go. Okay, so here's the concept. Didn't film the rest of slapping that together. My phone was getting kind of cold and started to do weird stuff. So I basically just have these 2 X's with a couple cross braces. I imagine I'm probably going to add maybe at least one more just for stability. Be sure not to look at it too closely. It's it was one of those things where I kind of needed at least one extra hand between screwing in and making sure everything was square, but it'll do the job. So you come along here on the outside, you cut that off, that's about a foot. You come over here on the outside, that's about a foot. Then you're left with 2 feet in the middle. You run your saw right down the middle. Now I've got 4 1-foot chunks that then I can split and stack. But that was just a quick little project I thought I'd knock out today. It really wasn't too bad. But the most important thing about this little project is those screws that I used. Those represent the absolute first money at all that I've spent on this project. I've been blessed to have already had the building, and I had some other building materials. So that box of screws was the first money I've spent outside of gas for the chainsaw, lawnmower, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. This is just a hobby, just something that I've talked about for the reasons that I'm doing. And so I really didn't want to put up a lot of investment into it. So we're gonna keep operating on a shoestring budget and hopefully be able to keep the costs way down. At some point I'll factor up how much money I'm gonna have to spend on the cabin, but I think it's gonna be pretty minimal. I don't think it's loud enough for the camera to pick up, but there's some geese flying over. There's also some turkey back in the timber back there, just clucking away. It's a little early in the year for them to get too active, but not that early, so I imagine it's probably a tom singing his love song. So to say everything so far has been free, I don't know. That's maybe not the most accurate way to put it. Everything so far on this cabin build was obviously not free. I've bought it in the past. The materials and tools and everything else. So to say it's free is not the most accurate way to put it, but I didn't buy any of this stuff in order to build an off-grid cabin. And like I said, I'm pretty proud of that. I want to be able to use the resources at hand to be able to get as far as I can. So far I've spent about $11 on a box of screws and, like I said, gas for the lawnmower and weed eater and chainsaw, things like that. But yeah, so far about $10 on this bad boy. Obviously we got a long way to go. As far as other materials, I'm fortunate I have insulation on hand. I have a pretty good stock of dimensional lumber, mostly 2x4s. I've got a pretty good stock of plywood for the subfloor. And then for the shell, I'm going to use a mixture of metal and the tongue and groove that we pulled off the outside of the shed. So again, a lot of it, I already have on hand, and I didn't buy that shed in order to turn it into a cabin, to be sure. I bought it to house the livestock that was in there. So again, to say everything so far has been free, maybe I'm stretching the truth a little bit. I also wanted to give myself a little pat on the back in using what I already had in order to make this dream come true. So I think we're gonna call it a day here. The sun's getting pretty low, and it is temperature's dropping pretty good. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it's been a blessing to you. We'll see you next time.